Today we're going to take a look at creating multiple scenes in Adobe Animate. We will be also using the text tool along with creating multiple scenes in the same movie. After we have opened up Adobe Animate, we're going to go ahead and begin with click Create New. And from Create New, we open up this pop-up window. We're going to go with Standard, the preset one, and click right on Create. From here, let's go ahead and, just as we've done before in past exercises, we're going to make sure that we have all the tools we need as animators. So we're going to go to the upper right-hand side and go to the Workspaces icon, click on that, and make sure that Animator is selected. With that being done, let's go down to the lower left-hand side. Down below here on the left, you'll see it says Scene. With this point here, basically these are your scene panels. So this is, you can add a scene, duplicate a scene, or delete a scene. And that all happens inside this little panel here. So I'm going to start off with creating 3 scenes. So I've got scene 1 is automatically set, so I'm going to add scene 2 and scene 3. So now I have scenes 1, 2, and 3. Now these can be reordered. I can left click on scene 3 and put it between the 2. It doesn't matter. What is important is that I go ahead and name them right now. So I'm going to name scene 1, and I'm going to say this is my opening. And then I'm going to double click on scene 2, and that's going to be the body, or the body of the movie. And scene 3 will be like the end, as in like the end card, right, or the end or finish of the piece. So I've got an open, a body, and an end. Now whatever I create here on the stage and on the timeline will reflect whatever's being done in each scene. So if I create something on this timeline, on the open scene, that will be a different timeline than when I create something on body versus the end. So let's go ahead and go up to the opening. And I'm going to start off with using the text tool to say the opening. So I'm going to go right here to the letter T, click on that once. And you notice that all my tools over here on the right side changed. I ended up opening up texting tools. So I'm going to go ahead and click on here first. I'm going to select my color, black, and I will type once on there. You notice when I did that, on the right side, all the usual tools you would find for you're working in a Word document came up. I have paragraph. I can change the size of it. I can change what type it is, bold or regular. Here's the size, the fill color. I can change the font type here. I'm going to use the one that's already preset, and I'm going to say test movie. So I just type that in there. Now you see it has a cursor. Now I can left click and highlight that after I've gone through and drawn that. And I can come back over to here and change the color, change the size. So I want to change the size. So it says 41 point. If I left click and hold and drag to the right or drag to the left, it goes bigger or smaller. So let's make it a little bigger. And then when I get it where I like it, I'm going to click on the white arrow to select it. And then I can move it up in place. There's test movie. And then I'm going to go ahead one more time and click on my name again. And I'm going to say by Arthur King, and put my name in. Now that's obviously really, really big. Typically in a title credits, you're going to want to make that which is most important, the title of the film, bold and strong and large and centered. The name, however, generally the author or the creator generally gets about half the size, and we put that off to the lower right side, like here, or we would go ahead and put it centered as such. But you'll notice that I'm following almost the rule of thirds on this, that if I have this, we talked about this the other day here with our homework, that the test movie is in the upper third, and the name of the author, myself, is in the lower third, and it's centrally balanced within the picture. Now, as we've talked about before, to extend this frame out, because I want this to last, and generally when you're introducing something to the audience, you generally want, and particularly if it's something you have to read, minimum, you want to have 3 seconds of screen time. So over here at the 3-second mark, I'm just going to go ahead and click that one time with my left click, and I hit F5 with my key, and that extends it out. Again, that's the F as in Frank 5 key at the top of the keyboard, and that extends it out. My opening scene now is done. It's all ready to go. So now let's go ahead. I'm going to jump down to the end scene where it says end. And on this scene, I'm going to go back in and use the typing tool again, select it, and I can go ahead and type in the text, the end. And again, if I want to have it maybe end underneath it, I just hit the enter key and end. There we go. And I can go ahead and left click and then highlight that within that box. And I can go ahead and make that nice and large if I want to. Right? Click on my white arrow, move it into the center, and I am all set. Okay, I'm all set. So now I want to go and stretch this out again. I can go ahead and go with the 3-second mark again. So I click there one time with a left click and then hit again the F5 key on the top of the keyboard. Extends that image out. Now let's say for fun I want to go ahead and make this a transparency. Let's make this a transparency. I can go ahead and do that. I click on that the text here at the very front end, and I right click and say create classic tween, and then at the end frame in purple, in the last notch in purple, right click and say insert keyframe. Copy that first one. Now if I go to the end one right here, I can go ahead and go down to color effects. Where it says none, go down to alpha, and my alpha is set on 0. So I'm set there. So now I'm going to go ahead, and if I grab my timeline here and I scroll through it, you see it, ta-da, it actually goes from 0 to full image right there before our eyes. All right. Now, so I have my opening. So I go back to the left-hand side here. I've got the opening frame, the end frame, and they're different timelines, but they're within the same movie. Now I go into the body of the movie. Now for the body of the movie here, I'm just going to go ahead and put in some different things, and just to show you try some new things. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my paintbrush, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a shape. Okay, so I can go ahead and draw something. Close that object up. Then I can use my paint bucket, grab a color, and go fill that in if it'll let me. Looks like I have an open gap up there at the top. So here's how you close that up. I have a couple of gaps. Look at that. So I need to go back in with my paintbrush and line up my line. Let's make sure we have that on the correct color. And I'm going to take my line and line that right up. Closes that gap. Closes that gap. And I do believe we have our gaps closed. And so now I can come back up and grab that paint bucket. Again, change that color and drop that color in. So we've gone ahead there and edited that, put a color in. And let's go make that keyframe number 1. I'm going to leave that just as it is, and I'll say, well, let's leave it on there for 20 seconds. So I'm going to hit F5. I'm going to click on that keyframe, F5 to stretch it out. Now in the next notch in the timeline, the next blank notch, I'm going to click right there once, right click, and insert a blank keyframe. Now I'm still in the same movie, but I put a blank keyframe down. Now I can go ahead and put a shape in there. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and use my oval tool, left click and drag, put myself a couple of shapes in there. Okay. Now I'll extend that out for a little bit of time there, maybe for a second or so. And I'll F5 that one. Now I'll go to the next notch in the timeline, left click it once to get it blue, right click and say insert blank keyframe. Again, put down a blank spot. And I'll go ahead and do something else now. Maybe this time I'll go ahead and I'll use the oval tool here. And let's draw myself a oval. And I'll use the eraser tool to go ahead and erase out and make myself a face on here. Oops. Let's go ahead and use that eraser. I'm going to thicken that eraser up. Once I select it on the right side here, the eraser tool gets a little thicker. So I'm going to left click and drag that up a little bit, make it bigger. Now let's see if I can go back in there. Oh, look at that. There we go. Now I've just erased out a nice big face for myself in there. Let's go and extend that out for another second. So I click on any frame about a second or so down there. If I want to go 2 seconds with it, I can do that also. I just hit the F5. And I've got a couple of things here. So if I grab on my scroll bar here, see how it changes? And each of those things that I've done appear in my movie. So what I'd like you to do is to go through and experiment with some of the different tools and create and put yourself down 1, 2, 3, about 5 different objects, and each one lasting at least a second. Okay, different things that you do on there. So I want you to experiment and play. So I'm going to insert a blank keyframe again, put it on a clean spot, and now I'll go in again with the text tool, and I'll type hello. But this time I'm going to highlight it and go back over to my characters and text right here on the right hand side, and I'll change that font if I want to. Let's go ahead and go something a little bit different. Let's see here. Let's see. Italic. Ooh, no, we don't want that. How about, you notice it shows you right here in the center. How about Showcased Gothic? Oh, I like that. That's kind of fun and cheesy. I'll click on that one here, and we'll make that one. I'll click on my free transform tool here, and then I can stretch this out, make it nice and large. Put that right there in the middle of the scene. There we go. And I'm good to go there. So I'll go ahead and stretch that out, and F5, and click that area. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Different images. Let's go and make one more here. I'm going to right click and insert a blank keyframe again one more time. And I'm going to go ahead and create another shape here. Let's go ahead and do, I can use the, let's use the line tool this time. I'll draw some lines. Okay, it's a nice abstract shape here. You can use it to draw a thing, right? So I've got a shape there, and then if I want to go back and use my paint bucket, I can go ahead and, if any of those areas are closed areas, I can go ahead and throw some color in those. I hit this one, I'll glue the whole thing there. Let's do that over there. Nothing there. Leave that one alone. That's pretty good for now, I think. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So I've got a couple things on there, and I'm going to go ahead now and select that one out also. Select a point down on the timeline here. It's at least a second or so past it, and then hit F5. There we go. Done and done. Click on my white arrow here. Now, if I want to go test all these things I've done, okay, so I've got my opening body, my opening, my body, and my end frame. So what I want to do now is go and test this. So let's go to Control and test movie. And then we're going to test a movie in animate. Okay, so again, Control, test movie in animate. There's my movie that's opened up. We have the title card. We have the objects that are flashing through in the timeline. And then we'll have the final scene, which will come up with the end. And it fades in. That is the final piece. So you'll go ahead and you'll create yourself a movie with 3 scenes, an opening, a body, and an end. And the opening, you'll type in your name. And you make up a name for this. You could say test movie if you'd like. Perfectly fine. Then add your name. Then you'll have, in the next scene, it'll be the body of the movie. That's where you'll actually create different images, different things, and practice putting content onto the timeline. And the last one, which is the end scene, you'll type in the end, and you'll practice doing another tween on there, okay, like we talked about in yesterday's exercise. All right, so then this is what you'll go ahead and turn in to show me that you've done it. You go ahead and turn in your movie, and you can again export it just the way that I did right there by just doing a Control, Test, Movie, and Animate. Or to do a final one, you can go ahead and go to File, Export, Export Video Media, and this will give you an MP4. So we'll select right here, and if you don't see it, right here where it says Format, if it doesn't say H.264, you want to make sure to change it for that. H.264, you click on that, there's all these selections down here, but you want it to say H.264, okay? And the preset here I've got it set for is for YouTube 1080p full. And that is basically, it's going to give you a nice, good size, good high quality image, okay? And then below here, output, that just says where it's going to go, which is it's going to go on the desktop. And other than that, you go and click export. When it exports, it's going to open up Adobe Media Encoder, and it will open that up. And once you see that, there it is right there. it'll automatically start to run your movie here at the bottom. There it is, exporting, and done.